Hello and welcome! I'm Randy Bueller, and I just finished getting thoroughly destroyed by Rachel Agnes. Good games.
Good
You
games.
top
I
deck
got a
that
little bit
workshop.
lucky in the second game. I will definitely say I got lucky in the second game. But
I
honestly,
figured that
I
workshop was
have
off
to
the top.
say it was on the top, yes.
It felt like it because you went Ancient Tomb, and my big debate is I have Island Strip at that point, so the Strip is my third mana. But you did Ancient Tomb nothing, so I think you're out. And now my read was right, but the workshop came off the top. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You were saying something else.
No, but I had to say you are my absolute hero because you played Merfolk. I vividly remember telling you about Merfolk earlier in this season, and I am just so happy to see Merfolk.
All right.
And you added some spiciness into it too. Like Merfolk wasn't enough. You had to take it to the next level, and you had to add a new card into it.
Well, Kamina's Speaker is kind of the real deal. Like, the biggest problem I had with Merfolk years ago is that you only get one drop. Like, you're a curve-out beatdown deck with one creature that you can play for 1 mana. Kamina's Speaker is a 1-mana 2/2. It actually hits kind of hard. And then you get to play artifact removal with the green splash. So we're happy to talk more, but our players are ready. So want to make sure we get this match started before their clocks wind down too far. All right, here we are with the 4th match of the evening. No Merfolk will be involved here. We will try to get those records moved so they're a little easier to see. But Rodrigo is on a Brian Kelly Oath deck. Reed Duke is on Paradoxical Storm. And that's got to be Reed's hand on the top, so something is off here. The Forbidden Orchard is definitely going to be Brian Kelly's hand.
Hey, you don't know. Some new tech in Storm Forbidden Orchard. Give your opponent a creature to attack you with.
I mean, I did play against Reed Duke, so I'm pretty sure I know. Okay, there we go. Now the hands are up.
There we go. That seems right. So it looks... what do you think, just Randy, really quick before we get into the hands, what do you think about the matchup in general? Do you favor one side?
I like the Storm side, but I like the Storm side in way too many matchups, so I'm not sure mine is actually an unbiased opinion. Mostly I feel like all the Oath stuff that you have to play kind of junks up your blue control deck, and you'd rather be on sort of a more pure control deck in a matchup against Storm. The important parts of the deck are pretty similar to all the cantrippy blue decks, so it's not dramatically different. It's just that, Storm's obviously never going to turn in your Oaths for free. And then, in particular, the Brian Kelly Oath decks with their commitment to being able to cast their creatures means that sometimes, they get an Oath turn, and they don't kill you. And, you still get to keep playing, and you're like, okay, you put a 2/4 into play. You put an Inferno Titan into play. Whatever. Does not affect my ability to Storm kill you. Now, the whole Ancestral Recall Time Walk portion of the deck, that part's still good. Although it's funny, Rodrigo had to debate whether to cast that main phase and risk discarding, and he whiffed on artifact mana, so he actually has to discard an island here.
Oh, yeah. I think you're right with what you say. It's actually one of those cases where the Oath deck wishes they didn't have that package. It's almost always better to be able to cast that Inferno Titan, but Storm is one of those matchups where you don't want to be able to cast it. You just want to Oath into the biggest thing that can kill them right away.
Right. Reed has... I like Reed's hand. In particular, the thing I like about Reed's hand is the Mind's Desire. This is a card that not everybody plays, but it is crazy powerful in exactly this matchup. When you're against the blue deck and you can manage to keep a hand of artifact mana, you can just, they're like, yeah, Mox Opal, no problem. Okay, Mana Crypt, sure. Mana Vault, maybe I have a misstep. If I don't worry about it. And they're saving that Force of Will for the business spell that usually comes at the end of the chain. When that business spell is Mind's Desire, they're screwed.
Force isn't great against it, that's true.
Oh, he can't get there. He can't get the 2 blue this turn, though, can he? He's going to go for this here, but what am I missing? He's just playing out his artifact mana. Where's the second blue coming from for the Mind's Desire? He already used his land drop, right? Am I...
Yes. He has...
Oh, it's his turn 2. Did he play a land on turn 1?
So he has the Underground Sea and the Opal.
Oh, okay. Great. Sorry, I got all distracted by the conversation about the Merfolk deck. Assuming he hasn't used his land drop, and this is Underground Sea and the Mind's Desire, it's so good.
It's really good, yeah.
Turns out Rodrigo doesn't have the Force of Will anyway, but 6 free spells.
Yeah, dump your entire hand, reboot up. Seems pretty good.
All right, we may want to get his revealed zone popped open if we can. Even perfect. Oh, paradoxical outcome. Is that card good? He can mystical to set up the paradoxical draw. And he's got a free Force of Will, so Reed knows Rodrigo is just empty at this point. Presumably he'll preordain first. Any artifact mana that he draws will just be able to pick up with the paradoxical.
This is quick. This is super.
And the threat of this is why you saw Rodrigo go for that main phase ancestral. He knew he couldn't just sit there with an empty hand.
Mm-hmm. I think Rodrigo really needed his chances to get back in this game was for Reed to whiff on his Mind's Desire, which obviously never a good feeling when you're sitting across the table and you need them to whiff on a Mind's Desire that's drawing them how many cards. But he did not. Spoiler alert, he did not whiff.
Yeah, preordained found the jet. Let's draw a billion or 6. He's got another paradoxical. He's got plenty of mana. He's got the DTO. He's going to play defense grid just in case Rodrigo's slow rolling something. Just once you've got enough mana, it definitely feels good to get the safety net down there.
Jeez, this is insane. These are the hands that make you love the deck, right, Randy?
Oh yeah, for sure. He's not quite able to kill him yet because he doesn't have. He functionally needs 3 black mana to demonic tutor for tendrils. Wait, he floated a black last time around. Maybe he does. He's just going to exile the PO.
Yeah, and he also has mystical as well. Something to keep in mind, I think, in his right. Yeah, can be played.
No, he's already got it. DT for tendrils. We're done. It was smart. You see the way Reed floated the black mana before the first PO, knowing that's often the color that you wind up tight on. So doesn't even have to go for the second PO. Just bang. Turn 2 kill.
Wow, is that good? And Rodrigo knew exactly what was up. He was like, I'm gonna ancestral right now. I know that I'm under, like, I gotta find something. I gotta get this going. And Reed only gave him literally 1 turn. I
made him work harder than that.
True. You actually, what do you feel? How do you feel about your Storm matchup? I feel like it's not necessarily bad.
I was actually happy to see Reed Duke in my group because I thought I've never been more sure of someone being on a deck in my history with Vintage Super League than Reed running a Paradoxical Outcome Storm deck this set. So I was convinced he would be on PO Storm, and I think Merfolk is favored in that matchup. I have Null Rods. I mean, Curse Catcher's annoying, but it's only annoying. But it was almost annoying enough to get me the first game. And I never drew a Null Rod, and I drew sort of fewer Force of Wills than he did. So, no, I'm happy with the matchup. I think Merfolk is favored. It's one of the reasons you play a Merfolk deck is you've got Null Rods and Wastelands and Force of Wills, and that should be enough to just slow down the Glass Cannon decks like this Storm deck.
Yeah, absolutely. It's when you're playing Merfolk, it's not about stopping them; it's about slowing them down just long enough that you can kill them, which is pretty quickly.
Yeah, your clock is solid. Now, I don't know that you're ever happy to see Reed Duke in your group.
Right.
He's obviously a great player. He's not going to give away any edge by misplaying anything. Okay. But yeah, I saw Reed in the group, and I'm like, okay, we get to play Fish against Storm. I think I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Did you put Rodrigo on anything in particular? I think Rodrigo and I both agree that we put Reed on Storm as well. So all 3 of us thought Reed was going to be on Storm. I actually put Rodrigo on Dredge. I thought Rodrigo was going to be playing Dredge.
I was afraid of that. It's not good for the Merfolk deck. Merfolk, the Merfolk Dredge matchup is so bad I didn't even bother sideboarding for it.
Yeah, it's a lost cause. I'm not going to throw 5, 6 cards in my sideboard just to lose to it anyways. I might as well fill it with something that I actually have game against.
Yeah, I have a couple cages because I can also bring them in against Oath in theory. But that's it.
All right, so Rodrigo is hoping that game 2 is going to go a little bit better for him.
Yeah, and Reed Duke with that 6th win has already clinched a postseason berth. He will definitely be back. The question is, can he get the 1 seed, right? If he 3-0s, he can clinch the 1 seed tonight before anybody else even plays.
I will try my best to get in the way.
That's Rodrigo's trying too. Rodrigo's still live for playoffs. You're still live for playoffs. I am no longer live for playoffs with 2 losses tonight. Not even in the miracle scenarios. You need the miracle scenarios. Rodrigo needs 2 wins and a reasonable scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at their hands, I mean, a hand with Black Lotus can't be that bad, right?
I mean, that's the only mana. But it also does have Force of Will Misstep.
It does.
I mean, if Reed was a creature deck, I think you'd stack keep that as Rodrigo, right? Just drop the Oath and sit on Force of Will. But I don't know if you can keep it in this matchup.
I don't know, because if you think about it, not only now do you need land, when you pop your Black Lotus, you need land, but you need specific land, because he's not going to create a creature unless you have a Forbidden Orchard.
Yeah, so but the fact that you can Force a Will twice, though. Oh, okay. He mulligans. I don't know. The fact that he could Force a Will twice made it worth at least thinking about. And like Reed loves his draw 7s, right? It's like he's gonna Twister or wheel you into a land, maybe.
Yeah. True. Hope your opponent gives you cards to.
Right now, this hand has mana to work with, but all it can do is Force a Will once.
Yeah. So now he has the Orchard, but he doesn't have the other important piece.
Yeah.
And then let's look at Reed's hand. So Reed's hand looks pretty good to me. He has a lot of tools.
Yep. He's going to want to sculpt for... Oh, wow. Lion's Eye off the top. So now he's got 3 zeros. He can, and he's just seen Rodrigo's hand. He can Paradoxical here with Force of Will back? No, he has to imprint a card on Chrome Mox to get to 4 mana this turn. And if he imprints a card on Chrome Mox, then he can't use his Force of Will. Presumably, Rodrigo would force a PO for 3, so I think Reed has to spend this turn using a Preordain to sculpt his hand rather than just going for it.
Which I think he's not so upset about, considering.
Yeah.
So if you're Reed, what are you thinking the worst case scenario is? You're probably not going to lose next turn. So
right. Wow. I just saw the 8th card in Reed's hand as a defense grid. All of a sudden, this hand is amazing because he gets to sculpt with the Preordain, but he also gets to go Mana Crypt into defense grid.
Yeah.
That is quite good. And then presumably wait for next turn to go for it.
Right.
Rather than like sack Lion's Eye.
Yeah, give himself a little bit more tools, a little bit more breathing room, and like he's not under the pressure. That's something like your deck presented, so
right.
I think he's okay to take that extra time.
I agree.
So no one played Dredged, but we all do have 4 different decks. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty good snapshot of Vintage. I don't know. My deck might be a little on the medium side raw power level wise, but it matches up all right against several things.
So obviously you did commentary for Eternal Weekend, and so you weren't able to play. But if you were able to play an Eternal Weekend, if somehow you could do both, what would you have played? Merfolk?
No, I would have played a Paradoxical deck. I probably would have played something pretty similar to my second VSL deck. Mm-hmm. I like Paradoxical Outcome in a value shell. Like I wouldn't be all in on Storm. I would not play Reed's deck. I think Time Twister, Wheel of Fortune, Tendrils are just hard to leverage. So you just put Paradoxical Outcome in a deck that is, you have a Mentor, you have Vault Key, you have Tinker Blightsteel. I think the Tinker Blightsteel plan is so good against shops. That's plan A against shops, and then your plan A is a Paradoxical Outcome deck against everybody else. I think there's a sweet spot where you can have a decent shops matchup and a decent blue matchup. And really, ultimately, the success of that deck comes down to how many people are playing Null Rods, how many people are playing Stony Silence. And there just wasn't a ton of it. Like, the shops decks are not playing Null Rod nowadays. And I didn't see a ton of Stony Silences. People are too worried about other things, and PO hasn't been putting up results. So, yeah, I would have been on PO one way or another. Pretty sure it would have been with, like, either a white splash for Mentor, maybe a red splash for artifact removal. But just planning to kill them with a Blightsteel and a couple Planeswalkers and no Tendrils. All right. Meanwhile, Reed got himself a Merchant Scroll, so he has a blue card for either Chrome Mox or Force of Will. He slow rolled the defense grid, waiting for this turn so that he can lead with it. He's mildly surprised he didn't play the defense grid last turn. I guess he didn't want to leave it in play and risk artifact removal. Yeah, Rodrigo has to Force a Will here. And Reed
needs to force a bit, so.
Interestingly, Reed doesn't have to force back because he saw Rodrigo's hand with Gitaxian Probe last turn.
But the brainstorm would be a surprise. He doesn't know what the brainstorm is, essentially.
Fair.
But I mean, what could you think it is?
If it was a relevant card, I don't think he wouldn't have forced it with the defense grid, right?
Right. True. Very true. So he is brainstorming.
Well, now he knows. Oh, he found the misstep. At Reed showed Merchant Scroll for Ancestral Recall, which is why Rodrigo pulled the trigger on this. Mm-hmm. And he did find the misstep. That's interesting. Why would you? Okay. He hid it on the top of his library for a turn. Reed passed rather than Imprint and Ancestral.
So now he is Demonic Tutoring. We can imagine he's Demonic Tutoring for Oath.
I think it's Oath. Yeah. He's got the Orchard. He's giving Reed a creature. He needs to win this game before Reed can sculpt the perfect hand. So, yeah, I think this is a spot where you get Oath rather than a hate card.
Yeah, I don't... What else could he get? I'm trying to think. Let me look at his deck list really quickly. If there's anything better that that would give him a better chance. Right,
it's a decent spot for like a Null Rod or a Stony Silence, if he had one of those. I didn't study his list to see if he does.
Let's see if he does. No, I don't see any. So yeah, he went and got the Oath, which we can imagine. So he has his misstep. And he is hoping to make it out of this turn.
Right.
But like we spoke of previously, even if Reed passes the turn and he does Oath, it's not like traditional Oath decks where you're like pretty much dead right on the spot. He could still have another turn after that.
Right. So Reed leads with his Ancestral, is disappointed to discover that Rodrigo has a misstep in addition to the whole Demonic for Oath of Druids thing. The good news is Rodrigo is out of stuff now, and Reed can set up this paradoxical outcome. Right. He's going to let the Ancestral get countered. He doesn't really have a blue card to pitch to his Force of Will. And do you imprint? He could imprint his Force, or he could hold his Force for later. That part is not crystal clear to me. Like, he's also going to play Lion's Eye, and then he gets the Paradoxical for 4.
Yeah, and if he imprints, he can Paradoxical. Oh, he could
Paradoxical without tapping the Volcanic.
Anyway. Yeah.
Question is whether he wanted to tap the Volcanic or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. What do these 4 say? Ooh, Mind's Desire makes him say, why didn't I sacrifice Lion's Eye Diamond? Well, because you wanted to draw the 4th card instead of just drawing 3, of course.
So greedy, those Storm players.
Can he get to 6? Opal, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, he's 1 short, isn't he? Because let's check. Did I play a land? No, he had to play a land.
Oh, he did play a land.
6.
Oh, wow.
Now he's going to imprint Force of Will on Chrome Mox. Oh. The new Force of Will on the new Chrome Mox. He's at 6, isn't he? Is Mind's Desire for 11 good?
Seems good. Wow. Reduke, Mind's Desire is his invitational card. His VSL-tational card.
All 3 of us put him on this deck, and he's still just crushing us.
Right, but it does have that added bonus. We put him on that deck, but we only found out we were playing him after we already submitted our decks. So right. even though I think none of us have like a horrible matchup against him, and he has a very chance of going 3-0. It's looking like he's making it 2-0 for sure.
Part of me wants him to just put up the 3-0 and clinch the 1 seed, because the way our playoffs are scheduled, he has this World Magic Cup to go play in and win on behalf of Team USA. I want him to not have to worry about the VSL playoffs. The championship match is the week after the World Magic Cup, so we'll just let him, worry about that, come back for the finals, right? Seems
Absolutely.
Reasonable.
Yeah, just put him on there.
He literally clinches the finals if I'm assuming he's going to win this match, but if he beats you, he clinches a spot in the finals. No, he's the only one that can get to 8-1.
Yeah. Oh, and there we go.
Jeez. What a blowout.
We were talking about the matchup, and that one did not look particularly close on either game.
Yeah, no, Rodrigo's got to come up with enough of a control hand to sort of fend off Reed. But the thing I really enjoy watching Reed with a Storm deck in his hands is he's so good at the patient draws. Like, he'll throw a jab, he'll, sculpt and say go, and it's tricky to know when you should just go for it at all costs and win as fast as possible, or when you can say, well, whatever, I'll just give him a turn. It's not a big deal. Here, he even gave him a turn, waited on an Ancestral Recall, let the Ancestral get misstepped rather than forced to defend it, because the Paradoxical was the more important card. He's very good at those sort of judgment calls of, like, understanding the proper tempo, and when you can sort of wait for the safer time to win on turn 3 or 4 rather than the max speed line of play.
You're right, and that's something that Reed is good at in all of Magic, is really able, not just threat assessment, but when certain things are important at different points in the game, and being able to really just craft his game around that, and it's beautiful to watch, honestly.
I agree. Well, we'll get to watch one more time. We get to watch him play against you. Is that coming up now? Oh, I lost my schedule. Never mind.
Nope, it's actually you versus Rodrigo. So, Randy, how do you feel about that Oath matchup? You said you weren't feeling too hot about it.
It's the funny part about Oath with Merfolk is that Island Walk is incredibly relevant. Like, sometimes they Oath, and you just Island Walk around Grizzlebrand or whatever, and you can actually kill them after they Oath, which feels like shouldn't happen. I mean, in general, having a Weenie Creature Swarm deck against an Oath deck is bad news. But the Island Walk is surprisingly relevant. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. If he gets the turn 1 Oath, it's basically impossible for me to win. But if it's like a turn 2 or 3 Oath, or like I'm on the play and it's a turn 2 Oath, or he needs a turn to set it up, I can actually deal damage fast enough sometimes to just win even through an Oath. And if he doesn't resolve an Oath, then I just get to win. So it's not my favorite matchup, but I actually feel like it's pretty 50-50-ish. Like, I don't feel like I'm a massive underdog. I think I've got a faster clock than most of the blue decks, and sometimes I can just put him under enough pressure that he can't get the Oath set up in time. So that's what I'll be trying to do. You can hold down the fort here on the commentary.
I think your game is trying to get those. Oh, sorry.
No worries. Sounds like we're going to head to a commercial break, and see you guys shortly.